30 ex-convicts covered in prison tattoos surrounded the luxury sedan when the billionaire grabbed the janitor's arm in front of her children. Marcus "Doc" Williams, with scars from 15 years in the system marking every inch of his arms, stepped between them with a presence that made the entire lobby go silent. "She doesn't. Not today. Leave her alone," he said in a voice that once commanded respect behind bars. But what the billionaire didn't know was that Doc had been convicted for defending someone powerless, and he'd served every single day without regret. What happened in the next few minutes changed not just that janitor and her twins, but an entire city that learned the most judged can become the greatest protectors. You ever imagine that someone with the darkest past can have the most protective heart? That's exactly what happened with Marcus Williams and his crew. And what they discovered that day completely changed everything. You're going to understand why this story shocked people across the country. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and stay with me until the end. Because what happened in this story, nobody was prepared to see. And trust me, you'll never look at a person by their past the same way again. Maria Santos, 38 years old, stood in the lobby of Westbrook Financial Tower in downtown Chicago, Illinois. Her hands shook as she picked up the industrial mop bucket for the third time that morning. The twins, Sophia and Miguel, 7 years old, sat quietly in the corner with coloring books, trying to be invisible while their mother worked. They weren't supposed to be there, but the school nurse had called about Miguel's fever, and Maria had no one to watch them. After her husband died in a construction accident 3 years ago, she'd taken any job she could find, 70 hours a week cleaning offices, and still she couldn't afford Miguel's asthma medication or Sophia's tutoring. That morning, Richard Westbrook III arrived at his building at 7:45 a.m. 62 years old, silver hair perfectly styled, $15,000 suit, watch worth more than Maria made in 5 years. He owned the building, the company, half the block. Old money mixed with ruthless business practices that destroyed competitors and employees alike. He saw Maria's children and his face twisted with disgust. "What are those doing in my lobby?" he demanded, loud enough for everyone to hear. Security guards froze. Other employees looked away. Maria rushed over, apologetic, explaining the situation. Westbrook didn't care. "I don't pay you to bring your problems to work. You're making my building look like a homeless shelter." Maria's voice cracked. "Sir, please, I had no choice. Miguel is sick and I couldn't leave him alone. I'll work extra hours. I'll clean every floor. Just please don't fire me." Westbrook smiled, the cruel smile of someone who enjoyed power. "Fire you? I should call child services. Clearly you can't take care of them properly." Sophia began crying. Miguel held his sister, his small body shaking. Maria begged, her dignity stripped away in front of dozens of witnesses. That's when the building's main entrance doors opened, and 30 men walked in. 30 men in work clothes with visible tattoos, muscles built from years of hard labor both inside and outside prison walls. They were the crew from Second Chance Restoration, hired to renovate the building's 5th floor. But they'd heard the commotion from outside. Marcus Williams, 53 years old, 6'2", with arms covered in faded prison ink and newer tattoos covering the old, led them. He'd served 15 years for aggravated assault after stopping a man from hurting a teenager. He'd paid his debt, gotten out 8 years ago, and built a company that hired only ex-convicts trying to rebuild their lives. Behind him came 29 others, each with their own story of crime, punishment, and redemption. They stopped their work and came down when they heard a child crying and a mother begging. Marcus walked straight to Westbrook, positioning himself between the billionaire and Maria's family. "Sir, is there a problem here?" His voice was calm, but carried weight. Westbrook looked him up and down with contempt. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus gestured to his crew. "We're the restoration company you hired. We're working upstairs. Heard some noise. Wanted to make sure everything was all right." Westbrook laughed mockingly. "Oh, the convict crew. Yes, I hired you because you're cheap. Now get back to work before I cancel the contract." He turned back to Maria. "You, gather your brats and get out. You're fired. Security will escort you out." That's when Marcus did something that changed everything. He knelt down to Sophia and Miguel's level. "Hey, what are your names?" Sophia whispered her name through tears. Miguel stayed silent, scared. Marcus smiled gently. "I have a daughter. Had. She'd be about your age now." He stood and faced Westbrook again. "Sir, this woman is just trying to provide for her kids. Her husband died. She's working multiple jobs. One morning with sick kids doesn't make her a bad employee." Westbrook's face reddened. "I don't need ex-criminals telling me how to run my business. You think because I hired you for manual labor that you can lecture me? You're all the same. Once a convict, always a convict. The only reason you're here is because you're desperate enough to work for half what real contractors charge." The lobby went completely silent. Marcus's crew tensed behind him. These were men who'd heard those words their entire lives, men who'd been rejected from hundreds of jobs because of their records, men who'd been told they'd never amount to anything, but they'd also learned control. They'd learned that violence solved nothing. They'd learned that strength came from restraint. Marcus spoke slowly. "You're right. I am an ex-convict. 15 years for assault. These men behind me? Combined, we've served over 200 years. Robbery, drug offenses, fraud, some violent crimes. We paid our debt to society every single day. And when we got out, nobody wanted to hire us. Nobody wanted to give us a chance. So we built our own company. We work hard. We're good at what we do. And we try to be better than we were." He stepped closer to Westbrook. "But here's what I learned in those 15 years. I learned to recognize real criminals when I see them. In prison, there were men who hurt kids, men who abused the weak, men who used power to destroy others. You know what happened to those men? They didn't last long. Because even criminals have a code. You don't hurt kids. You don't hurt the powerless. You don't kick someone when they're already down." Westbrook tried to interrupt, but Marcus continued. "This woman is working 3 jobs to feed her children. She brought her sick son to work because she had no other option. And you humiliated her in front of everyone. You threatened to call child services not because you care about those kids, but because you enjoy the power. That makes you worse than half the men I met inside." Westbrook sputtered with rage. "How dare you? Security! Throw these criminals out! All of them!" But security didn't move, because by now, everyone in the lobby had their phones out, recording. The confrontation was streaming live on multiple platforms. Marcus's crew stood solid behind him, not aggressive, just present. 30 men who'd learned to be intimidating without touching anyone. 30 men who'd made mistakes, but were trying to be better. Westbrook saw the phones and his expression changed from anger to calculation. "Fine, she can keep her job. Now leave my building." Marcus shook his head. "Not good enough. Maria, how much do you make?" Maria whispered the number. $14 an hour, no benefits, no sick days. Marcus turned to Westbrook. "You own a billion-dollar company. This building alone is worth $40 million. And you pay this woman $14 an hour to keep your floors clean, to make your business look good, to do the work nobody else wants to do." He pulled out his phone. "I'm about to make an offer. Maria, my company needs an office manager. $25 an hour, full benefits, health insurance that covers your son's medication, paid sick days, and child care assistance. You want the job?" Maria stared at him in disbelief. I don't have experience in offices." Marcus smiled. "You work 70 hours a week at multiple jobs, raise 2 kids alone, and never give up. That's all the experience I need. You're hired." He looked at Westbrook. "As for you, sir, I'm going to recommend to my crew that we donate the payment for this job to Maria as a signing bonus. We'll finish the work because we keep our word. But after today, second chance restoration won't work for companies that treat people like, garbage." Westbrook's face turned purple. "You can't do that. We have a contract." Marcus shrugged. "Sue me. I've been to prison. You think I'm scared of lawyers?" The video went viral within hours. Ex-convicts defend single mother from billionaire hit every news outlet. Within 24 hours, Westbrook Financial lost 3 major clients who didn't want to be associated with the controversy. The board of directors received thousands of emails demanding Westbrook step down. He tried to control the narrative, but the damage was done. 2 weeks later, he resigned as CEO, citing personal reasons. The company implemented new policies, living wage for all employees, comprehensive benefits, and employee assistance programs. Maria started at Second Chance Restoration the following Monday. Marcus was right about her skills. Within 3 months, she'd reorganized their entire administrative system, secured contracts with companies that valued their mission, and started a program to help employees with childcare and transportation. Sophia and Miguel thrived with their mother's reduced stress and stable income. Miguel's asthma improved with proper medication. Sophia's reading caught up and then exceeded her grade level. But the real change happened in the community. Marcus's crew, which had been struggling to find consistent work despite their skills, suddenly had more contracts than they could handle. Companies that had never considered hiring ex-convicts reached out, inspired by the story. Not all of them followed through, but enough did. 6 months later, Second Chance Restoration had grown from 30 employees to 50, all ex-convicts getting their second chance. Marcus never talked much about why he'd stepped up that day. But late one night in the office, Maria asked him directly. He was quiet for a long moment, then said, "My daughter was named Vanessa. She was 8 when I went to prison. Her mother left, said she couldn't handle being married to a criminal. Vanessa went to live with her grandmother. I missed everything. First day of school, birthdays, Christmas. When I got out, she was 23. I tried to reconnect, but the damage was done. She'd spent 15 years being the daughter of a convict. Kids bullied her. Teachers looked at her differently. She struggled. His voice broke. 3 years ago, she died. Pills and alcohol. The note said she was tired of being ashamed. He looked at Maria. When I saw your kids sitting there, scared, watching their mother be humiliated, I saw Vanessa. I saw what happens when we let powerful people destroy the powerless. I couldn't save my daughter, but maybe I could save yours." Maria reached across the desk and squeezed his hand. They sat in silence, two people who'd lost so much but were building something better from the ruins. 1 year after the incident, the Second Chance Restoration held its anniversary celebration. Over 100 people attended, employees, their families, community partners, and the businesses that had taken a chance on them. Maria spoke about her journey from working 3 jobs to managing a growing company. Several ex-convicts shared how the company had changed their lives, how having stable employment, supportive colleagues, and a mission bigger than themselves had kept them from going back to old patterns. The recidivism rate among Second Chance employees was less than 5%, compared to the national average of 70%. Marcus stood last to speak. He talked about accountability, about how paying your debt to society should mean something, about how everyone deserves dignity and the chance to prove they've changed, about how the most unlikely people can become protectors and builders. He ended with this: "A year ago, I watched a billionaire humiliate a woman and her children because he could, because he had power, and they didn't. I'd like to say I stepped in because I'm a good person. Truth is, I stepped in because I've been powerless. I've been looked at like trash. I've been told I'll never be anything but my worst mistake, and I was tired of watching it happen to someone else." He gestured to the crowd. "Everyone here has a past. Some of us made terrible choices. Some of us hurt people. We don't deny that. We paid for it. But we also believe that people can change, that mistakes don't define us forever, that work, commitment, and community can rebuild what was broken. This company exists to prove that, not just to society, but to ourselves." The room erupted in applause. Maria stood with Sophia and Miguel, now 8 years old, healthy and thriving. Sophia wanted to be a teacher. Miguel wanted to be a construction worker like the men who'd helped his mom. Before you keep watching, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I want to know how far this redemption story is reaching. And go ahead and leave your like if you're feeling every word of this story. Today, Marcus Williams is 54 years old. Second Chance Restoration has 75 employees, all ex-convicts. They've completed over 200 renovation projects across Chicago. Their success rate in preventing recidivism remains exceptional. Marcus still has his prison tattoos, still has the scars, but he also has something else: purpose. Maria Santos now co-owns the company with Marcus. Her twins are 9, excelling in school with college funds building. She speaks at events about second chances, about dignity in work, about looking past someone's worst day to see their best potential. As for Richard Westbrook, he faded from public life after his resignation. Some reports say he's consulting for overseas companies where his reputation hasn't reached. Others say he's retired completely. Either way, his name became synonymous with the kind of cruelty that people with power can inflict, and the consequences when someone finally says enough. The lobby of what's now called Lakefront Financial Tower has a plaque near the entrance. It commemorates the incident and the changes it sparked. The inscription reads, "Dignity is not given by the powerful, it is claimed by the courageous, and sometimes it is defended by the unexpected." Below that, in smaller letters, "In memory of Vanessa Williams, your father's love changed lives." This story isn't about ex-convicts becoming heroes. It's about recognizing that people are more than their worst moments, that someone who made terrible choices and paid for them can still stand up for what's right, that the same strength that led to crime can be redirected toward protection, that society benefits when we give people real chances to rebuild, not just empty words about rehabilitation while slamming every door in their faces. Now let me ask you something. Do you believe people can truly change? Or are you one of those who thinks once a criminal, always a criminal? If this story touched your heart and made you rethink your judgments, leave your like now. Seriously, that like isn't just a button, it's you saying, "I believe people can change." And tell me in the comments, what impacted you most in this story? Was it when Marcus revealed his daughter's story? When he offered Maria a job? Or when 30 men stood together for someone powerless? And answer something else. Do you know someone who deserves a second chance? Or someone who had a second chance and changed their life? Tag that person in the comments or share this video with them. This might be the push they need. Write in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far Marcus and Maria's story is reaching across the country. If you love stories that show the human side of people, that show real redemption, that aren't afraid to talk about real issues, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any story that will move you and make you see the world differently. Are you crying? Normal. I cried too. Stories like this remind us that past doesn't define us permanently. Change is possible. Second chances aren't favors, they're rights for those who've paid their debt. Write in the comments, "Redemption is possible if you believe it." Changed my view if this story transformed you. I know someone like this if you have a similar story. I want to read every comment, every story from you, because you're part of this too. Now click on the next video I've selected for you, another story that'll hit you hard. See you there. And remember, judge less, understand more. Everyone has a story. Not everyone gets the chance to tell it.